right, so I almost called him Arch Nemesis. Arch Enemy just came out with their new album called
Will to Power.
Will to Power. Is that like from something?
No, I think it's just a statement of the theme of the album. Of
you have a will to power, or you will
of being empowered. I know. We'll talk about it when we talk about the whole album. But
all right, but no. So just came out. When was it? September 8th of this year. So it was just last week.
About a week ago.
About a week ago. It's a song. Anyway. Yeah, and this was their first album with their new guitarist, Mr. Loomis, Jeff Loomis. And, yeah, let's get right into some of their work with...
Yeah, and it's their second album with Alyssa.
Yeah, so really this is kind of like almost all new, like not almost all new, but a lot of all new people in this album.
Yeah.
And it definitely feels that, but a lot of new voices in this album, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But we'll start with Set Flame to the Night.
Set Flame to the Night, short little intro song.
Yes, it does exactly what we like, which is separate the intro. Well, especially because Arch Enemy is known for having a little intro instrumental stuff. They're known for their instrumental stuff because they are melodic death metal, and that's kind of how they go. But Set Flame to the Night, it's separated, and I really feel like it's for a reason. I thought Set Flame to the Night was really, really repetitive and boring.
Yeah, and especially, like, for the first 2/3 of it, it's the same riff over and over again with some, like, sirens in the background.
Yeah, the police sirens and the police radio.
Which didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, at first I was like, did we accidentally start listening to Body Count's album again?
Yeah, because, and especially, so then after that riff ends, it goes into kind of a marchy beat. And so I'm like, is this gonna be, like, say something political?
Yeah,
like,
so for the last 30 seconds it becomes big and epic and weird, but then it ends. It just ends. It just cuts, basically.
Yeah, and then it has nothing to do with the next song.
Yeah, I would say this Set Flame to the Night is just someone's idea. Maybe they wanted to start off a song with it, or start off an album with it, and they started an album with it, but in my opinion, there's just nothing to it.
Kind of unnecessary.
And I think what's interesting about this one is... No, sorry, never mind. It's just, yeah, the only trick it has is it adds some harmonics between the guitars.
Yeah.
But other than that, really kind of boring.
Yeah, boring and kind of misleading, I feel like.
I would have cut this song out.
Yeah.
All right, so
let's move on to the next song.
The Race. Okay, so The Race. Did Arch Enemy win?
I definitely think so. I really like the song a lot.
Okay, so this song, let me just start off with saying, this album, I wouldn't call it Swedish death metal so much as Swedish thrash with death vocals. This album is so thrashy.
Sometimes, yeah. This song, I can see it. But this song, I think, was the heaviest of the album.
Our ship's falling apart.
Apparently. I think the song was definitely the heaviest of the album. You really get to see her growth in her guttural vocals.
High and low gutturals in this. She layers them, so you get this really interesting sort of...
Yeah, but, like, I think this song has, like, the lowest I've ever heard her voice.
Oh, yeah. I would say this song is showing off everybody's skills. Like the riff is really fast, and I said it was very thrashy. The only thing that I thought was really strange was in the chorus, it goes major for just the beginning of the chorus.
Well, that's kind of a thing they do, isn't it?
But then the rest of it is all, like,
that's
minor.
True.
It's just, like, filled with hope, down. It's like, whoa, this is weird.
Yeah, I would say this is one of the more, like, negative-sounding songs.
Oh, yeah, this song definitely has the least of their Arch Enemy's traditional sort of, like...
uplifting chorus.
Sort of lead tone.
Yeah, actually, I one thing that I noted is that it was less melodic than usual. Like, this is the most death metal song of the album, like, without the melodic.
I was gonna say, the solo, which comes out of nowhere, is not sort of, like, very, like, is not very musical. It's very much just, it's pick tapping. It's...
Yeah, I wrote that it was really echoey. Yeah. Like, the first solo, that is really echoey and kind of, I didn't like that one very much. But the second solo was my favorite solo on the whole album.
It was because it was so thrashy. It wasn't like neoclassical or something like they would normally do. Arch Enemy would normally do. It's very much sort of like the thrash sort of sort of thing,
which I liked a lot personally. And it was in contrast to the first solo, which was kind of like and the thing is very reverby.
I feel like that permeates the whole album. I feel like the whole album has a whole lot of that thrashy 80s guitar solo stuff going on, and it's really in contrast to like their previous album and albums beforehand that I felt was really strange in this album. But we'll get to those songs later. But the second solo was definitely better in my opinion. It was a lot more fun. It was a lot more interesting. And just, yeah, that's all I can say about the race, other than, like I said, the combination of high and low guttural growls is great on this song. So, speaking of great songs, though, Blood in the Water is next. Blood in the Water. What'd you think?
Yeah, I thought the song was okay. There were a lot of different aspects to this song.
This song has 3 solos in it.
Yeah, a lot of these songs have multiple. I don't think there was a single song that only had 1 solo.
Well, it's because none of the solos are in this whole album, I would say,
Very
except for like
long.
really slow ones, are appreciably long. Yeah, they're all sort of just, especially this song, the first solo is very much a sort of pivot point, going around, shreddy.
Yeah, actually,
sort of...
that first solo is really interestingly placed. Like, it's right after the first verse.
Yeah, I wrote that just right near the intro, crazy early in the song. Very fun, very classical thrash, I said. And it's funny is, like, the main riff, you know, and that solo, I would swear Dave Mustaine wrote this one. And it's so funny, because I was looking it up, and Amat and Loomis, both the guitarists, love, like, Mustaine, they love Richie Blackmore, they love, like, all those, like, classic 80s guitarists. And I feel like this album shows it so much. Yeah. Like, more than War Eternal. Like, War Eternal was very sort of has, like, lots of major neoclassical, like, influences. And this one, I feel like they're definitely getting more into that 80s sort of, like, cool rockin' metal sound.
Yeah,
I would
I
say.
can see that.
But, like I said, the fact that there are 3 solos in this song is just crazy.
Yeah, and I feel like that first solo was, like, unexpected and jarring. And, like, oh, there's a solo here. And I kind of like that. And then the, like... second solo was just kind of there for me. And the third solo, I was, like, super bored by it. Like, the third solo was just, like, Baby's first neoclassical solo.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, it's the weird one, because it's neoclassical out of nowhere, when the
but it's, like, slow neoclassical. It's not, like, you know, like some sort of
yeah, you couldn't even make a
shredding.
neoclassical sound,
I can't make up with the... But, I don't listen to enough of that stuff, but...
well, it's kind of funny that you say, like, how boring you thought the third solo was, but it's super short, so you're not worrying about it. Yeah. But I thought that and the lead generally in this song really didn't fit well. Like, I felt like normally, like, say War Eternal and the ones before that, the lead during the chorus was practically, it's what the song, if you were a singer, it's what you'd be singing, you know? Like, no more regrets, what's done is done, done, done. And in this song, the lead and the words were just on completely different, like, rhythms.
Yeah.
They just were not at all supporting and complementing each other.
I'd say this is, like, the only song on the album that has that problem, though.
Well, yeah, I guess. But my problem... the reason I liked this song, though, was because I liked the thrashy elements of it. I really liked the thrashy solos. I really liked the... And when I say thrashy, I mean specifically of the Megadeth, Metallica, like, Slayer early
like
eras. 80s. Yeah, 80s thrash. There's definitely, like more hardcore stuff, but this sounds just so 80s to me.
Yeah, and... this is totally on a different note, but one thing I really didn't like was her whispering.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that was really odd in this song, because later, we won't say, you know...
There's blood in the water.
Later we'll get to it, she sings in this album, which is really surprising. But yeah, she, like, whispers here, and I'm like, you couldn't even do, like, a quiet growl or a snarl, it's just like a...
And to me, it sounded very juvenile. Like, the beginning of the song almost sounded like core to me, because of her, like, whispering, and then the, like... I don't know, just something about the verse made it feel very, like, straightforward and kind of, like, teenage.
Well, I would almost say this whole album feels very straightforward. There's nothing very complex, I would say, on this album overall.
I don't know, there's some weird structure in a couple of the songs.
And it's funny that you mentioned core, because later I'm going to bring it up again.
There's some breakdowns.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, but all in all, I would say Blood in the Water is an okay song. It won't be your favorite off the track. Just the fact that the whispering is one of those new things that I feel like Arch Enemy is trying, just like the singing. It's just, they're trying to see if it fits.
Well, the thing is, I guess this is more of an overall comment, but one thing I appreciate about her as a vocalist is just the vast variety of techniques she uses is really impressive. Like, and even though some of them, like, I feel like kind of miss the mark, like this whispering thing, it's like, it's still just one thing within her wide repertoire.
Yeah, something else she could do for flavor elsewhere.
Voices.
Well, the thing is, she doesn't do it too much in this song. It's mostly just for the flavor, but it doesn't taste right with this song.
Yeah.
So, you know, Blood in the Water, you know, someone lost a limb. It's painful, etc. Anyway, moving on. The next song, which is fantastic, really love this song, is The World Is Yours. The World Is Yours.
Yeah, this song has such fun riffs. Like, there's the kind of second intro riff, the do 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 do. Like, that riff is so much fun. Like, I want to dance along to it.
There's no room in the spaceship for you to dance, but
No dancing. It's like Footloose.
Footloose in space.
No, and then the chorus riff is also really fun and uplifting.
Here's what I would say. This song is the most Arch Enemy song on the album, which you might say is a weird thing to say because the whole album exists. But the fact is, if you listen to, like, say, War Eternal, or the albums before that, except for with Glass Out,
except the early stuff,
except the early stuff with the guy, this song is very much the chorus is like and she's singing. Da, da, she's singing with a beat, da, 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 and it fits perfectly, and it's so Arch Enemy, and
the world is your mind. Yeah.
It's very much the lead absolutely supports the chorus vocal, and this is exactly what I expect from Arch Enemy. This was the first or the second single.
It was one of the first two,
and it's just it's exactly what I feel Arch Enemy should be, except that it like weirdly fades out at one point and then becomes that riff that you said before, that dun dun dun, but it becomes like a heavy chugging version where it's like dun, 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 dun,
yeah,
and it really becomes really heavy at the end. But
what I was gonna say, like, I called that section like the breakdown.
Yeah.
And the problem I had with the song was the section right before that breakdown where there was like a bridge and like a guitar solo. And
you have a problem with the guitar solo? In the beginning of our well, then we'll see this by the time. But our Beartooth review, you were like, I like my metal to have guitar solos in it.
Well, yeah, but, like, I can be picky about guitar solos. Like, it's guitar solo number 2, and that reminds me of a problem I have with guitar solo number 1, but, it's just really slow, and, like, during this second guitar solo, it feels like everything drops out except the bass underneath it. Like, there's just nothing going on underneath the guitar solo. And so it feels like you're just kind of waiting. Like, it's just kind of dragging a little bit before it gets to the breakdown.
Maybe everyone needs a break before they go into the super hard chug. Well, I think the thing is, it's supposed to set you up for that super hard sort of chug.
Yeah, and I agree that does a good job of doing that, but, like, it just lasts, like, it's a little too long of a break to me.
Interesting. See, I would say this is their first, like, good neoclassical shred moment in the album, and I think that it goes on just the right length of time because it's just I've been waiting for that. Like I said, this song is the first Arch Enemy song, so I've been waiting for that neoclassical shred. I've been waiting for the death metal-y chugs because I would say that a problem this whole album has is the tone is really not heavy enough.
Yeah.
This is a very lightly toned album.
The tone is very clear.
Yeah.
And it's got a very neoclassical tone.
And that's the thing, I was really surprised by this album. And that's because Amat is super into, like, Yngwie and all that stuff. Not Amat, that might have been Loomis, who's really into Yngwie and stuff.
Everybody's into Yngwie.
Yeah, everybody's into Yngwie. My point, this album is not super heavy, but this is the song that I've been waiting for until right at the end when it just becomes a piano song out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's the first problem we started talking about intros and outros. This song has a piano outro that just kind of like cuts all the energy. Like The World Is Yours is an energy-full song that's got speed.
Especially it's like this is one of the few situations where I like the third verse key change. Like
yes.
Not third verse, but like last chorus of the song, key changes up, and it's like it fits for such an uplifting song. The theme is one of empowerment, and it's like, it's within your power to change the world, and you can do it.
If you want it, the world is yours.
Exactly.
That's my best growl right there.
He's not a death metal vocalist.
I'm a death metal bassist. There's a difference. All right, but no, and I would say all in all, like, it ends with a very odd solo too. That's super 80s metal. It's not shreddy.
I noted that it's a little all over the place. Like the end solo had a lot of ideas going on.
Well, yeah. Well, to the end solo, I said it's very much in his inspirations, which is Tony Iommi, Richie Blackmore, those kind of people. It's very much in the I'm inspired by neoclassical, but I'm still also an 80s band. And it definitely 100% sounds like that. This album is so feeding to Arch Enemy's inspiration that I would almost say this album is like it's funny because the special edition of this album is half a cover album. It's called, I believe it's called Raw Punk or Row Punk or something. Whatever the A with the circle over it, however you pronounce that. Which is interesting because they're punk covers, which is odd for Arch Enemy.
This is a theory of mine, every metal person starts in punk.
Yeah, I mean...
all the metal musicians you think of
I started with Ramones.
In a punk band. Yeah, because when you first learn how to play an instrument, you just gotta start with punk music because it's easy.
But no, I would say this song, only the ending, if you cut out the last, 30 seconds of the song, it would be Arch Enemy straight, and it'd be great. But all in all, I feel like it kind of suffers at the end.
Yeah.
So what I'm really saying is the end of the song should fly alone, just like an eagle.
Eagle flies alone.
The eagle flies alone. Does this single fly alone on the album?
I don't know what that means. But so we talked before about the intros and outros. This song suffers from the boring, slow, melodic intro problem.
I would say
some
this
piano business.
Almost a soft alt metal sort of intro. It's very much, it's gentle, it's got piano, then the guitar comes in, it's got lots of ambient sound.
And my problem was that like I was expecting, you know, you have this piano intro, and then I was expecting it to kind of fade out a little bit, and then you get hit with this like heavy riff. I was expecting that, and then like when the riff came in, it was just kind of like a medium-paced sort of walking beat.
What's interesting is this song was written by, so half the songs in this album, most of the songs in this album are written by Amat, the lead guitarist, and usually along with Daniel, the drummer. This song was written by Amat by himself. So he did not have the drummer's input. And those of you who've listened to Arch Enemy know this drummer is insane. He can do, double kicks fast, he can do blast beats, whatever. And this whole song is, I literally called this song, this could be a Metallica song if Glasso wasn't singing, White Glass wasn't singing it, because it's is the riff, which is really simple, and then the it's literally the rock beat. It's and I'm like, this sounds like a Metallica Load era song in everything but the vocals. Because the drums are so slow and so simple, and the guitar is slow and simple, and I'm like...
Yeah, and a whole minute of slow intro, it was just too long for like a 5-minute song. And
that's the thing, it's like, it's just, this whole song feels like it was written for another band, and then they used it.
Until you get to the chorus. The chorus is very Arch Enemy, I feel like, because it's got that melodic, that scale, rise
scale
and
up,
fall.
Scale down, scale up, scale down.
Whatever, underneath the chorus. Like, I really like the chorus a lot. And it's got their classic uplifting message of, you're on your own, you fight the man. Like, literally, I was getting, they didn't actually say fight the man, but that's the message I was getting from the song.
What's interesting is I just think so much of this song is really boring. From the verse riff that just...
See, I thought the verse had a little bit of tension in it. Like, I also thought, it was a mixture for me between boring and a little bit of tension. Like, it wasn't, I like verses of songs to, slowly build in tension until you release to the chorus. This one did that a little bit, I think, because there just wasn't a lot to it. And then the chorus, I think, was a success.
Well, see, that's interesting, because I thought the chorus was boring, because it's just I'm like, really? Like, that's all you got to your choral? I know you guys can do, way better than that. And then the bridge is really, really boring, and the only thing it does is, harmonize again for a really slow, harmonic sort of, thing.
I said the bridge was kind of, odd for me, because, there was a sudden, riff change, a couple bars into the bridge. That was kind of, unexpected. And then I thought that the solo was kind of not stylistically...
Oh, yeah, the solo is, almost 80s hair metal solo.
Yeah.
It really comes out of nowhere.
It just isn't stylistically unified with the rest of the album.
I said this whole song feels a bit muddied. It feels a bit confused.
I feel like it's the radio hit.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, it was the second single.
The solo is very chantable, I feel like.
With the solos chanting?
Not the solo, the chorus, I meant.
Do what?
The chorus.
Can you chorus me right now? Can you say what it is off the top of your head?
No.
The eagle flies alone.
Yeah, that's how it ends.
Yes. And then, well, like I said, the song is kind of for me, it's boring, it's stylistically all over the place, and once again, it ends with just that weird piano. It just ends with an outro piano.
Yep. I just wrote outro unnecessary.
Yeah, it's once again, I feel like...
I get that's trying to start and end in the same place. It starts with piano stuff, and it ends with piano stuff. That's a whole
sandwich.
Circle. But, it's a death metal album. It doesn't need a piano sandwich. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. The whole problem with this album is it's too light to be death metal. I know it's melodic death, and a lot of people are going to say melodic death is just different. And I'm like, well, if you listen to the previous albums, they were still heavy, they were still rocking it, they still did it, and this album just feels a lot lighter.
And, like, maybe they don't want to be confined by, like, strict genre guidelines. Like, I definitely get that later in the album, is that it's like, this is...
Yeah, oh yeah.
I would not call this.
This gets weird. The next song especially is just, comes out of nowhere. But I would say, the thing on this album is they feature a lot of guest artists on this album.
Do they?
But they don't mention any of them in the songs. It doesn't say, like, featuring this person or featuring that person, and we'll get to it in a bit. But, yeah, like, lots of people, even past members of Arch Enemy, just appear on this album for small bits.
Cool.
And it's like, what? Why? And the problem is, I feel like for all that, for all the people featured on this album, and for all, you know, for all the new band members and all the new juice they could have flowing in this album, this song is just boring.
Okay. I don't think it's as boring as you think it is, but it was kind of middling for me.
As opposed to the next song, which can't possibly be boring. Yes. And I'll give you a reason to believe that's true.
Reason to believe. I know you love this song.
This song is the best. This is the only song like this ever. It's first of all,
like period. I would say not even within Arch Enemy's discography or like
I would say
or whatever. I would say the song is just unique.
Outside of the realm of covers, of death metal bands doing covers, I feel like this is unique. The way I want you to think about this song before it even starts is, what if "How Do I Get You Alone" by Heart was sung by White Sluts? You know, it's, you know, it starts with piano and "How do I," and then it goes "Tonight, by myself on my own. I never really cared until I met you." And the song is just, well, first of all, I want to say this song made me laugh out loud when I heard it.
It made me laugh too.
But
it was just so unexpected.
And now we'll explain why. This is the ballad of the album.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the sixth song, I believe, and it's just, you know, it's right there where the ballad should be, you know?
Yeah. Well, and the previous song has that piano, like, kind of, you know, it softens a little bit, and then this song, you know, has the, like, clean guitar intro. Oh, yeah. So and then she starts singing. Yeah,
Alyssa actually full lead sings on the song. It's not like backing vocals as her singing. This is her singing straight up.
The verses at least she's just singing.
Oh yeah, in the chorus she growls almost, I would say, nonsensically with the song.
Yeah.
So Alyssa sings in this, and she's a really good singer.
Yeah,
like it came out of nowhere.
She has a solid like rock voice, and especially in the pre-chorus when she was like singing with some grit. Like I really liked that, where she was kind of mixing her gritty voice and her clean voice. Like she could be a totally competent like just rock singer.
Well, no, that's what's interesting. That's why I said that.
Like the song totally feels like just a rock ballad.
Yeah, that's why I said.
Aside from the growling in the chorus.
That's why I specifically brought up "How Do I Get You Alone," because this sounds like Alyssa could easily do a Heart cover album, and it would be the best thing ever. But here's the great part: it's the ballad where she's singing like to the, you know, she's singing the soft, gentle intro, and then she just goes into the screaming for the ballad part. Where it's like la da da da. I'll give you reason to believe.
Yeah, I almost felt like it should have been like, I was kind of disappointed by the chorus.
Really? I loved it.
Because the pre-chorus, like, amps up so much that it feels like she's going to go into, like, a high scream and be, like, just, like, bah! Kind of anger, like, not anger, that's not the right emotion, but, like, passion. No. You know, like, a kind of more upbeat, passionate part of the song. Like, it feels like it's building up in tempo and intensity, but then it kind of like drops down in the chorus, and I don't really like that.
When I say that there's no song like this on earth that I know of, and if there is a band that makes this kind of thing, death ballads, death rock, I want to hear about them because it's awesome. This is the weirdest ish, and I loved it. And it's so not. It's weird because I had a problem with the early ones not being very Arch Enemy, and this is not Arch Enemy at all.
It sounds like a completely different band, I'd say. I don't know what band. It doesn't sound like any band that exists.
If it does, please let me know because I love it. But it even has the slow jam arena rock solo to fit. It's just so 80s. It's got the echoiness. It's got the.
See, I didn't like that solo because it was just like so slow. Like the whole song was just kind of sluggish to me.
Well, this song is arena rock. It comes out of nowhere. It has no place on this album and is great.
And let's leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, but it wasn't one thing. It definitely wasn't a murder scene, unlike our next song. Murder scene, was it?
I thought it was aggressively okay.
That's my problem with this song. Is this song had the and it had
It's
the
very
gut.
it's aggressive, like which I love in contrast to the previous song. Like it's got a little bit of an intro, but what I liked about the short
It was punk. The intro was punk.
What I liked about the short intro was that it brought back the sirens from the beginning of the album. I'm like, oh hey, a repeated musical theme. What's up with that?
Well, that's what's interesting is I thought the intro was very punk. It was like it was just very sort of bass and drums intro, and it had the sirens, and I'm like, I can see why the extra, like the extended edition of this album has got a bunch of punk songs in it, because clearly there's some kind of inspiration going on there.
Yeah, and then it jumped in with the aggressive riff.
But the riff is just a trim pick. It's just a note.
It's so which makes the verse really boring.
Which is why they just intersperse it with these shred-tastic lead solo things that just come out of nowhere. It's just like then back into the verse. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay. It just has to be there.
Yeah, the chorus I think improved.
Really? I thought the chorus was muddy and incoherent, and that you couldn't really hear the guitar and the voice over each other.
Well, like, the thing is, yeah, I definitely agree that the, like, lead guitar could have been a little more forward. Because, like, there was a melody there in the guitar. It just wasn't very loud. It wasn't, in terms of, like, note space, it wasn't, like, high enough to stand out from the rhythm, or
well, that's my
something.
problem. It was like I said, it was muddy. It was not very in sync. Once again, my problem with this album is that I find that, unlike previous albums, the lead and the vocal in the chorus rarely do that thing where they align, and the lead is doing the singing version of what the chorus is saying. And I feel like in this song especially, they were
when the band does their best, I think, when the guitar sings.
Yeah, the world is yours, absolutely. And I feel like this song really had the chorus that was really muddy and just not very good. And that whole theme of muddiness goes on to, like, there was a harmonic minor bridge that was really good, but then there was the second bridge was just like nonsense, and I couldn't understand it at all.
All I said about the second bridge is it's really weird and unnecessary. Like, I thought that our speakers were doing something strange.
Yeah, it's just first, making a weird sound.
Because it's like got some weird filter on it, and it's just really confusing, and I don't know why it's there.
And then the song ends like with like a guitar being detuned. It's like
yeah, just someone like taking their whammy bar.
Yeah, and it's just really gross and muddy and awful. And in my opinion, Murder Scene was just that. It was just bad. It was ugly. It was gross. And in my opinion, it's the worst song on the album.
Yeah, well, we're supposed to save that for the end.
Well, I'm just gonna be honest right here. We'll bring it back up, but this is my least favorite song on the album. It's just not very good.
I agree with you, by the way.
And I look forward to seeing it on my first day.
You know.
All right. How was your first day?
Great, I'd say. I love the intro of this song.
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful. Like a lot of the songs, I'm like, oh, there are too many intros and outros on these songs in general. But this is one of the songs where the intro really works. Oh, but you pointed out to me, mostly because it sounds like Slayer.
Yeah, I would say this song is wearing the dead skin mask of a Slayer song.
No Slayer song in particular.
Yeah, it's just wearing its skin. But that being said, I wrote down this song contains the best riff in the entire album, and it's this brutal chugging.
Yeah. I felt like it could have been faster. Like, with the slow intro, I wanted it to be a Slayer song, I guess, because I wanted it to jump in with doodly 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 doodly, you know.
Well, it's interesting. It's because, like, I feel like the speed came in after that, and I feel like this intro riff, which appears later as the bridge riff, only, like, a heavier version of it that's, like, super, like... I feel like that's the heaviest riff on the album. It's the most interesting riff on the album, and that's what makes this, like, one of the best songs on the album. It's just that intro and that bridge riff. It's kind of funny because the verse riff is just a gallop.
Yeah, I wrote that the verse riff was kind of boring. Less so than the previous song, of course, because this verse riff was just a gallop on, like, the same note, and then the vocals were kind of, like, didn't have a lot of variance, I feel like, in the verse.
Yeah, well, I mean, the verse, it was gallops until the end when it was like... But it was really too quiet and muddled to hear. Because, once again, they mixed the guitar too quietly on this one, so you can't hear... Because, I don't know. I feel like the verse riff in this is kind of like... I feel like the intro and the bridge riff are making up for the verse riff. Because there's nothing wrong with the gallop. Some great songs have gallops.
I feel like the verse is just kind of there because the song has to have a verse.
Yeah, I didn't even write anything about the chorus in this one because I guess I just don't remember it.
Well, I wrote that the melodic parts were too short, so I guess the chorus was just really short.
Well, the thing is, I feel like this whole song is trying its hardest to get back to the intro riff. That's why they use the intro riff, they use the bridge riff, and they use it as part of the outro too, if I'm not mistaken.
Speaking of boring, I thought the solo was really boring.
Gosh, the solo was less complex than that choral lead, and I'm like, it was just a really slow sort of. And I understand the whole song was kind of slow because that's the way the intro and bridge was. But I think if this is not an intentional wink to Slayer, then it feels weird. Because it should have a fast solo, and it doesn't. And for that reason, this whole song is kind of like...
Well, and then there were kind of like two breakdowny sections. There was one at the end, like as an outro, and then there was another one before that. And the second one was more substantive, I felt like.
Yeah.
And so it's heavy and nice, but I just feel like it doesn't need to happen twice.
Hey, Ryan.
I know.
Yes, I agree. And that's my problem with this song. In my opinion, this song is number one. But it's brought down by everything that isn't the intro and the bridge riff and that awesome outro sort of riff.
Yeah, I just feel like it was held back a little bit by the solo. It really needed a more shreddy solo, and by the
rather boring
verse.
Gallop of a verse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean here's the thing. You can say that those things are boring, but as long as some riff gets you returning to it, it's great.
Yeah.
Unlike this next sort of interlude, Saturnine. Saturnine.
Little 1 minute interlude here.
So both instrumentals on this album, the first one and this one, are written exclusively by the drummer.
Huh.
That's why...
He likes glockenspiel, I guess.
Yes, and he doesn't like the guitar doing anything interesting. Oh, gave my opinion away on the song. And he doesn't like writing drums in his instrumentals. Yes, so he does drums and keyboards, apparently.
Well, that explains the synth.
Yeah, and that's just this... I called it plucked strings. I wasn't sure if it was a glockenspiel or not.
I think it's a glockenspiel. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know, but it's choir, and it's plucked strings, and it's kind of... It sounds very Catholic, like you're in a Catholic...
I wrote creepy church choir.
Yeah, which is kind of funny, because the previous song is about hell, and this song is like a sort of...
Spoopy church choir.
Spoopy church choir. It's funny, because I used the word spoopy later in another thing, but... the only string to this song's bow is that there's harmony going on in the really slow guitar riff, but all in all, this is 1 minute and 10 seconds of really boring nothingness.
Yeah, it sounds basically like it should have been an intro to the next song. Well, but the problem with that is that this 1 minute and 10-second song had like a 20-second fade out.
And this next song has a fade in on what essentially is the same guitar riff.
It's really pointless. So let's move on to the next song.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and move right on to Dreams of Retribution. Dreams of Retribution. This song is a mess.
It is. It's a beautiful mess sometimes.
Oh yeah, this song has parts that would be amazing in another 6 minute, 50-second song or whatever.
Yeah, it was just too long for its own good. Like, there was a lot happening. So it starts off where the last song left off.
Literally.
With this, literally the exact same, which is why the previous song either should have been part of this one or just shouldn't have existed at all. So it starts off with this choir and with this keyboard thing.
Well said.
And then that part kind of stops, and then there's a sick pick slide.
Yeah. And then the guitarist is really like, this is the song where you can tell he picked it up. This verse riff has so much movement, and it's so bouncy, and it's all over the place.
Yeah, and I really love about this verse is that there's kind of a call and response between the vocals and the guitar.
Yeah.
Is that there's a vocal part, there's a da-da-da-da, and then there's the guitar will go beely-beely-beely, or whatever, and it kind of changes. It doesn't change every time, but, like, in the second verse, I noticed, like, one time there's a little pinch, or, like, there's a little, like, beely-beely-bee, or beely-beely-bee, you know, like, it changes a little bit each time, which totally made me think of Dave Mustaine, because he likes doing that a lot. I mean,
obviously, that's, they're clearly... This album shows more than anything, they're clearly inspired by classic thrash, which is odd, because we just did, like, Body Count, which, inspired by classic thrash and stuff, and it's just...
We like thrash metal.
Then after the verse and chorus, which sound perfectly great, it gets weird. There's a breakdown. There's no mistaking it as anything else. It's then
cute little
there's this
spooky keyboard.
Spoopy synth organ. And I looked it up, and that's a featuring artist who's playing all the keyboards in this. And it's Jens Johansson from Rainbow.
Huh.
Yeah, Richie Blackmore's Rainbow, the keyboardist, who's just in the song playing. And I was like, what? You're kidding me, right? But no, he plays this weird little sort of neoclassical, which he's known for playing very fast neoclassical sort of piano. And he's in the song, but it kind of feels like he's in the song. So Christopher Amat in this band's older brother, who started, who helped to start Arch Enemy, also plays keyboards on this album, and the drummer also plays keyboards on this album.
So many keyboardists for a death metal album.
Yeah, I know it's melodic death, but you have to say that. But the funny part is, it's interesting that Jen Johansson, I think he plays on this and maybe one or two other songs. Yes, he plays on 4, 9, and 10, I think, but I can't be sure of that. And I feel like all his piano parts are great, but I literally called them, they're the spoopy organ, very Dracula.
Yeah, and I feel like it just comes out of nowhere. Like, a comparison with the verse, it's like, and the chugs, like, when it's going, the last thing you expect is synth organ.
Which is why, maybe that's what they're trying to do, is throw you off, because that would be a very punk thing to do, but this song was written by, like, everyone in the band came together to write the song, basically, except for Loomis, I believe, because... Forget that guy, I guess.
Yeah.
But everyone in the band except Loomis kind of came in on this song. And it feels like 3 or 4 different people's ideas.
Yeah.
All mashed together into a song, because it really comes out of nowhere. And... Yeah,
speaking of, like, kind of awkward things, the line that, like, kind of stands out a lot, that plotting my revenge is the only thing keeping me alive, like, rhythmically, that line just does not fit. Is plotting my revenge is the only thing keeping me alive. It's like... That takes, like, 2.5 measures or, like, some weird amount of space. Yeah. And it's, like, lyrically, you should just cut that down, like, by, like, a couple words. I don't know how, but...
Oh, well, I mean, that's what happens when you have everyone writing different sections of the song, is that some things just don't balance out. And that's what I thought was interesting. Speaking of weird timing, the solo. So the song literally has to, like... shift, it's like poorly shifting gears to do the solo because it's much faster than the solo.
The solo has 2 sections.
Yeah.
And it's got this slow, really kind of boring section that's just kind of a repeat of, like, the chorus riff, I'd say. Like, kind of just an extension, like, interpretation of the previous riffs of the song.
Yeah, it's basically just the lead.
And then like, it kind of stops.
Awkwardly shifts gears. Like,
it kind of stops, and then there's a pick slide, and then it changes into this, like, epic, awesome solo.
Yeah, and there's a faster riff underneath and everything. And it literally feels like it's a solo that was written just entirely separately, and it doesn't fit in the song. Yeah. It's an awesome solo, don't get me wrong. This solo is great. I just love it.
This or the solo from whatever song it was.
I even wrote, this solo sounds like they had Mustaine in the studio. It's so classic thrash, it literally is sickening.
It's beautiful. I love it. It's like this or the Race solo is probably my favorite solo in the album. That's
the thing that's interesting is, but the problem is, even when it goes back from this solo, it chunks back into it. Like I said,
it goes back into the slow solo.
And it's just like, this is so awkwardly just shoved in here that you can tell it's everybody's ideas together.
Yeah, I even, like, wrote and, like, should have underlined harsh transition, like.
Yeah. And then at the end, it sort of outro goes back into that sort of, like,
I wrote it's epic. Like, it's supposed to sound epic, but then it kind of
choral
just
sound
comes off as Yeah, like, it just comes off as a lazy fade out, which is what happens. So, which kind of made me sad, because I thought this was a pretty good song overall, even though it was a little, like, manic. But, like,
the thing is, I think if you took the breakdowns out of this song and you made the solo a bit more fluidly integrated, this song would be the best song on the album.
And if you got rid of the lazy fade out.
Well, yeah, the problem is everything in this song just kind of feels like you stapled together. It's a Frankenstein. It feels like you stapled together multiple different song pieces.
Yeah. It's like they all went through their phones and were like, what's my best, like, riff or solo or, like, song idea that I have in my phone right now? And they each brought their favorite one and, like, stapled them all together.
Like, anyone got a friend who's really good at an instrument? Oh, you know Jens Johansson? Cool, from Rainbow. Let's get him in here, which is funny because, you know, like I said, Amat really loves Richie Blackmore, and so it just felt really weird and interesting to me. I guess the sort of, like, longness of this song and the interesting multiple parts was very sort of Richie Blackmore, early neoclassical, but I don't think most people appreciate that these days. I don't know. But anyway, moving on, My Shadow and I. My Shadow and I, what'd you think?
I didn't really have a lot to say about this song.
Yeah, it's interesting. I called this song, like, still good, but album filler. Like this is between 2 over 6 minute songs, and this song is only about 4 minutes 10 seconds, and it really feels like this song has to be here because they wanted to not have 2 intensely long songs in a row. But it's not a bad song. It's just
kind of there. Yeah, I wrote no intro.
Yeah, I was gonna say no intro at all.
Huzzah, no intro.
And that's another thing that makes me think it's sort of an album filler because they're like, here's the song. Don't bother writing an intro. Just get to it.
Yeah, and like the chorus is kind of, kind of singable.
I said the opposite. I couldn't hear any of the words because there was so much like ambient noise that covered up all the words.
The rhythm was more like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The rhythm is great, but the lead for the chorus, which I would say is Arch Enemy's strength, the leads for their choruses, you couldn't almost hear it in some parts, and the words you definitely almost couldn't hear. I say they were
except the phrase "me and my shadow."
Yeah, they were almost muddled to death by this sort of like symphonic ambient like cacophony. And it's just like, gosh, back off! I can't even sing this. Okay, thank you.
I'm trying to prove your point.
Yeah, and it's just not. Like I said, it feels like something that was like, oh, we got to do this real quick. We gotta make a song, and then once again, the solo feels like it chunked into gear to make this '80s solo.
It was a good solo though.
Oh yeah, the thing is, once again, it's very '80s. Like I said, the problem with a lot of these solos is they're very arena rock, very extreme, with an X.
Extreme.
Like the band Extreme, yeah, Michelangelo not Michelangelo Batio. That was Betancourt, wasn't it? Anyway, and I just feel like, once again, these were just a bunch of parts that were thrown together, and the chorus definitely so is just a bunch of layers of sound.
Yeah, my favorite part, though, was where it, in the, like, bridgey section, where it drops down, from, like, the intro, the intro riff comes back and then drops down into this heavier section, which is in contrast with the, like, of the chorus. So when it goes from that heavier section back to the chorus, it's like, oh, sweet, some contrast. This is nice. So I did like that part.
Like I said, this song, I literally like barely remember this song because it's just, to me, it's between 2 larger, much more complex and interesting songs, and so therefore this song to me fades into the background of noise on the album.
It becomes a shadow.
Oh. No, it's just that this will be no one's favorite. This will be no one's like dance track. This will be no one's gonna cover this.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest problem with it, and that's all I can really say.
Yeah. So
because this is definitely a fight that the song didn't win on the album. What? I tried to do a thing there. A fight I must win.
A fight I must win.
Yeah, for me this is a loser.
Really?
Yeah.
I liked the song.
Okay, here's what I'll say. This is a good song. You can quote me on that. This is a good song, Caleb Byers. What I will not say is this doesn't feel like a Swedish melodic death metal song. This riff, and the feels like it's written by a modern standard metal band. Like, nothing crazy.
And I to agree with you, I would say the like intro makes it feel like it's gonna be this epic.
Oh yeah,
like
it's
gonna
orchestra
like
piece.
it's gonna be this 10-minute long epic piece of art. And while it's a good song, the intro kind of overhypes it, I think.
Oh yeah, well, because the main riff is just like it's like that. It sounds like a modern metal band.
I liked the that riff there. I liked it.
Yeah, see, I guess I was just this song to me. I said it sounds like a movie soundtrack song when the movie wants to be a little bit edgy, but they don't want to play like some actual death metal and lose audience members in the trailer. Mm-hmm. Like this song is just a little bit metal, but it's not death metal. It's not there.
I would agree. Like, okay, so while I personally like the riff and like after the intro starts, there's some like punchy like psh, 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 drums, like catching the cymbal sort of business, which I like as like if it had started there, I would have liked the song more than if it started with all that intro business. And one thing that bothered me was that, like, which they do a couple times in this album actually, is have, instead of like verse, chorus, they have verse, pause, verse, and then chorus. Is like, this one did that too. So she goes, this is a fight I must win. And then it feels like it's gonna, like, with no instruments underneath, and it feels like it's gonna drop to a, like, power chorus. And then it doesn't do that the first time. And then the second time, the power chorus it does drop to isn't so powerful.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I even wrote anything about this chorus other than Yeah, you said the tone is very. I was even the tone of this song is very hard rock. It's not even metal. There's almost no crunchiness. There's no like. It's not very driven. It's driven obviously, but it's not like super overdriven like you'd expect from a more death metal song. Not saying it's a bad song, like so many people are guaranteed to think I'm gonna say.
You see, the thing is, I realize now that all my notes I took were negatives about the song, but then after listening to the whole thing, I come away with, I liked that song.
Oh, no, it is a palatable song, and it feels like it's designed absolutely to be so. It's definitely, in my opinion, this even though it's not one of the singles, it should have been, because this sounds like a radio hit to me. Which especially as we go into the bridge, which is 2 parts, which is this sort of muddled, trim-picking thing, which I can't even remember, because it's just like...
Yeah, I wrote
super generic.
The section after the second chorus is kind of dull until the vocals start.
And then it comes to this sort of like, it goes into this like classic rock sort of like, hey, riff for like a 1/10 of a second. It just has an entirely unique riff.
Well, because I think the thing is, like, that section there is made for when they play it live.
And so everyone takes a break.
That section there is made for when they, like, I'm sure they lengthen that section and make the, like, because it's just the kick drum for a little bit, and it's like, I'm sure they slow it down and make the whole audience shout, hey, for like 2 minutes right there, instead of it's like 5 seconds in the actual song.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I feel like this song feels like the way to get everyone involved, radio hitty sort of song, which is why I'm shocked it wasn't one of the singles. And then after that hey part, because of the matter of it's hey, the audience has to be involved, it goes into repetitive, this is a fight I must win, this is a fight I must win, this is a fight I must win. Forever. And it just, I understand it's so the audience can get involved. It's so the audience can sing.
Which, like, we're going to see them live in a couple weeks. And when we do see them live, and when they play the song, we'll get so into it. It's a fact. Like, we will shout along with this is a fight I must win.
But it's like the last minute, like minute 30 seconds of the song is just repeated, and it just feels so unnecessary. And
like, the song is 6.5 minutes, not because it's an epic sort of song, but because it just it has a really long intro and outro and repeats this.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of the outro... The whole band stops playing except for the guest band, which, by the way, is I wrote down, the Stockholm Session Strings. It's just a collection of
string players.
Yeah.
It's good to know that they used real strings.
And not synths, right? Because I thought early on it might have been synths, because the way it was mixed, kind of like all the same volume and stuff, that sound walled sort of thing. Yeah. But when the strings play us out, you can tell each individual instrument. It's very strong. It's very beautiful. But my problem is, I didn't buy a Stockholm Session Strings CD. I'm sure they have many of them. I bought an Arch Enemy CD. And if on your last song on the album, you need to be playing the last note or singing the last note or something.
I wrote why violins at the end because while I get that it's, again, they started with strings and they ended with strings, it's like, it's a string sandwich. But like...
That sounds disgusting.
But like the other song where there was a piano sandwich, it's like, this is a metal band, you should probably end with guitars or screaming or something.
Yeah, or like a sweet solo or anything. But this song didn't even have a solo. Once again, I said this song's almost hard rock in that it doesn't have a solo. It's very simple in its rhythm. It's very supposed to be audience, supposed to get involved.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and what I say to myself is, when they wrote this, is this a song that's meant to be covered by bands that are less good than Arch Enemy is?
Maybe. That's a weird reason to write a song, though.
I think that's a genius idea to get people to get into your band, is that you write coverable songs, even though you're in a harder genre. But anyway, I would say this song is good. I will listen to this song more.
Yeah, the thing is, I enjoyed listening to this song. If I don't think about it too much, I enjoy listening to this song.
And just like life.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the album as a whole. So...
Let's talk about life as a whole.
I don't want to. Don't want to think about it. So this album as a whole is a good album. It's, we've discussed before how like the band's previous albums should have no bearing on what you believe a current album is. Like you should be able to.
Let's just say this album didn't compare to War
Eternal. This
Eternal.
album is a step down from War Eternal.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this is just the sophomore slump. And I wonder if their next album will really bring it. Because if you get a new guitarist and everything.
New guitarist, only second album with Alyssa. Like, and they're trying a lot of new stuff.
Yeah, lots of 80s.
Yeah.
Lots of 80s, lots of symphonic elements.
Yeah, that was both refreshing and disappointing.
Because this album, due to the symphonic elements and due to Alyssa singing every once in a while, it was not nearly as heavy as a death metal album should be.
Yeah, that was my main problem with it, is that it just didn't feel... Like, I feel like the vocals were the main thing keeping it heavy.
Yeah.
Like, the guitar tone was not that heavy, And especially in the song where she's saying, it's like, well, this is barely even metal.
It wasn't that. No. What's it called?
Death rock.
Death rock. No, it's just. It wasn't even. It was the ballad of the album, which I can't remember its name right now. Oh yeah, Reason to Believe. That's not a metal song. It doesn't fit on this album at all. That's an experiment that was weird and awesome, but definitely.
Like, it feels like it kind of should have been a B-side.
No, it's too good. Well, speaking of good, top threes for this album.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
So I would say my number one is most definitely First Day.
Really? I wouldn't put that as my number one.
It's just the riff is so driven and it's so heavy. It's a heavy song for the album. That's crazy for this album, but it's just a heavy song, and I really enjoyed it. My second favorite is definitely Reason to Believe. Because it's just so fun. It's so unique. Like I said, there's nothing like it I've ever heard in my entire life.
While that song didn't make my top three, I would give credit to that song for just sounding 100% unique.
Yeah.
There's no band out there that sounds like that, and Arch Enemy doesn't even sound like that.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of sounding like Arch Enemy, my third one is The World Is Yours, because it's Arch Enemy classic. You know, it's not the new Coke, it's classic Coke. It's so good. It's exactly what I wanted to hear when I played this album, and that's why it was the first single. That's why it was the first single. Which is
why it was my favorite.
Oh yeah, World Is Yours is your favorite?
The World Is Yours is definitely my favorite of this album, because I loved the last album so much.
Yeah, how could you not?
The World Is Yours kind of sounds like it could be part of it. Like, it's got that classic, I say classic, but the thing that I think is, nowadays at least, definitive of Arch Enemy is in the chorus having a very melodic, beautiful lead guitar, while the vocals provide the, like, rhythm almost. The rhythm and the words, which is helpful because she tends to enunciate her words really well.
Yeah, she has a very good scream that you can really hear.
Yeah. And, I mean, we could talk forever about how great her vocals are. Yeah. Anyway, World Is Yours would be my favorite, and I would say The Race.
Interesting, The Race.
In my top three.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty straightforward rocking.
It was one of the heavier songs of the album, and I
said it was the most thrashy of the album. It sounds like a thrash song almost with death metal vocals.
Well, and it's got the heaviest vocals.
Yeah,
of
definitely.
The album. It got some actual gutturals in there.
I would say only the second solo is any good though.
That's true. But that was that second solo was in my top two favorite solos.
All right, so what's the
and
third?
And then my third one is First Day in Hell.
Yeah, it's just so good. It's got you reference Slayer, you've already got me hooked. Then you make a really awesome, chuggy, groovy, awesome, amazing riff that's super heavy, and then you've sold me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're gonna agree on this, but worst song on the album I thought absolutely was Murder Scene.
Murder Scene. I agree. I do agree with you. That was my least favorite.
It's boring. It's like trim picked. It's just nothing. There's nothing interesting to it. It's really It's just sound.
Yep. So
here's the thing: is it much better than a lot of bands I've heard? Sure. Yeah, great. Murder Scene is much better than a lot of bands, but on this album,
yeah, if I heard that song from like some local band at a dive bar, I'd be like, "This is great."
Yeah, you guys are going places, but for being on your 10th studio album, come on, you can do better than this, Arch Enemy.
Yeah, but overall, like I'd say this album is pretty good.
If you had to give it a number rating,
it does stay. Well, before we get to that, I'd say it sticks with the theme that they went with in the last album of being like really surprisingly uplifting for death metal.
Lots of major for death metal.
Yeah, lots of major stuff, lots of like kind of empowering lyrics of like, you control your own life, you can do what you want to, like fight the man, like be whoever you want to be. Like, granted, not all the songs are like that. Actually, I didn't say this when we were talking about Dreams of Retribution, but my problem with it was that it sounded too uplifting for being a song about revenge.
Well, you gotta be happy about your revenge. I would say the instrumentals in this album are unnecessary, and they're not good. Unlike the last album, the instrumentals are great, but the instrumentals in this album they weren't very good. They're really boring, and they were both written by one guy who wasn't the guitarist, and they were both guitar instrumentals. And not that you have to be a guitarist to write something for guitar, but it's just I thought they were kind of just boring, or should have just been part of the song.
Yeah, and that was an overall problem with this album, is that it had a lot of intros and outros that were just too long.
Yeah.
And that's why all the songs were, like, a lot of the songs could have been, like, 30 seconds shorter.
Yeah,
because of intros and outros that were just kind of, like, slow and, like...
The funny part is, their last album was about 47 minutes long, and this one's 50, and those 3 minutes was intros and outros, I feel like. So, I don't know. But I guess if you have an awesome string orchestra, use them.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, if you have access to that, then use it.
If you have rainbows, keyboardist, use them. So I guess I can't complain too much. So all in all, I give this album about a 7 out of 10. It's hot, but Yeah,
like if their previous album, I would have given like an 8.5 or 9. This one I would give like a 7.
Like I said, it's unfortunately a step down, is what I would say. But is it still a great album? Absolutely. Would you recommend this album to other people?
Yeah, I'd buy it. Like, I will leave this on my iPod after we finish this review.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this album is great. Once again, I don't listen to too much melodic death metal. I play in a tech death band, so not quite melodic. So this is some of the only melodic metal I listen to, and I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
So yeah. So all in all, I think this album will definitely as for the start of the Alicia Weisglatz years, I feel like it's not bad.
Yeah.
All right. So in the end, everyone's a critic, and so are we. Bye bye.